Pete Topping, Peconic Baykeeper, and we're going to be paddling the Peconic River today. And we'll be doing about 6.5 miles of the Peconic River Blueway Trail. Really awesome experience that not many people take advantage of. A lot of people forget we actually have a river that goes to the Peconic Estuary. But these upper regions are actually pretty wild. So we'll be looking for wildlife, lots of turtles, birds, and things along the way, and really not a person in sight. So we're up here at, the New York State DEC launch at Connecticut Avenue Dam in Calverton. So that's pretty much as far as you can paddle on the public part of the river. And we'll be paddling all the way to downtown Riverhead. If we wanted to go further, we could go as far as Indian Island. Couple things along the way. This one's really important. This sign right here, protect our waterways. And that is really important in freshwater with invasive species, because some people bring boats from place to place and we end up with aquatic vegetation and also different aquatic critters such as Asian clams and other invasive species that can really wreak havoc on the ecosystem. So we'll point out some of those along the way today as well. We've made it down through the narrow regions of the Peconic River, and now we're in an area that opens up where we have less flow. And so what we're starting to see, if you remember that sign in the beginning about aquatic invasives, this whole area, even though when I put the paddle down, it's actually pretty deep, but all the way choked up to the surface, we have this plant right here, which is called fanwort. It has a little white flower. So the danger is if you have a bass boat or even a canoe or kayak with a trailer, if you get one little chunk of this on your boat, it doesn't dry out and you don't clean it and you put it in the next waterway, you're gonna infest that as well. So it's great to enjoy these areas, really pretty spots to explore. But also we want to keep in mind that these areas are really ecologically sensitive and do our part to prevent the spread of invasives. All right, survive. So we're a little bit further down on the Peconic River, and I pointed out earlier how it got a lot wider at that point from where we started early on, and then we also saw it being choked out by some of our invasive species. And one of the issues with invasive species, or one of the things that kind of favors their development, is not having a lot of water flow, so it allows for them to take a stronghold. And you can see this is really wide, and if you look in front of us right here, you'll see we've come to a choke point. And what we had here was an earthen dam and as well as a weir right here, and what that's done is held this water back, created a really nice large pond and waterfront access for these homes, but it's also slowed down the water flow, which favors invasive species. So one of the things that Peconic Baykeeper and SeaTuck Environmental and the Peconic Estuary Partnership, among others, have been trying to do is address some of these dams on the Peconic River. It's very difficult to get dams removed from the systems because we have issues with homeowners that don't want to lose their waterfront access, people that don't want to lose fishing access in these ponds. And then also the other thing is we get sediment buildup, and those sediments can sometimes accumulate heavy metals and other toxins, so that creates an issue as well. But one of the other issues that's created with these dams is that fish can't move through these systems. And namely in the Peconic River, we have our river herring, our alewives, and we also have our juvenile American eels. So once we get down a little bit further, we'll actually get to some fish passage projects that help those fish get over these dams. But there's not a passage currently in place at this this dam right here. We're a little further downstream at Edwards Avenue. It's actually a pretty good launching spot if you want to paddle just part of the Peconic River. There's a nice kayak or canoe launch right here. But what I wanted to point out right here is you can see this dam, and then there's also two structures on either side of it. So the one right in front of me with these pieces of round pipe, this is actually an eel pass that was put in to help juvenile American eels navigate and wriggle their way upstream. And then to the side of this dam is kind of a metal chute spillway, and that is a fish passage designed to pass river herring so they can make it upstream. So not quite as ideal as removing the dam altogether and restoring the natural flow, but at least it's a step in facilitating the fish passage, getting fish making their way up to forest spawning habitat. All right, so this is a small eastern painted turtle. So this is one of our native and more common freshwater turtles who's basking on one of these rocks here. So we're gonna put him back in to enjoy the summer. So this plant right here is another aquatic invasive of concern, especially on the Peconic River. This is called Ludwigia, or also called water primrose. So it's similar to the primrose that you might have in your garden. And this plant, even though it's beautiful, which is how it ended up here, it's more of like an aquatic or pond ornamental, can also completely smother a waterway. And you can see I just broke off a piece. I'll dispose of this properly, but you can see each of these pieces has little bits of root coming off of it. So just another plant to watch out for if you're canoeing or launching a boat. And now we're in a patch of this is commonly known as parrot's feather. So it's got really pretty plant, but again, it's like a pond ornamental that unfortunately is winter hardy on Long Island. And same thing, when you break off a piece, again, I'll dispose of these properly ashore, but you see all these roots here. So all it takes is one fragment of this, and you can totally end up with that in another stream or lake or a pond. All right, so we're a bit further down the Peconic River right now. We're at Dam Road, so we just came over and portaged over the road there. This is actually another spot to the right there. You'll see another one of those fish passages, so that's gonna help hopefully our river herring and American eels get further upstream. And it's also another spot where we can kind of highlight another invasive species. So we looked at a couple plants earlier, but we also have other aquatic life, and this whole bottom here is carpeted with these round and brown shells, and these are called Asian clam, and they've really kind of covered some of these areas of the Peconic. So we do have native freshwater clams, or they're more commonly called freshwater mussels, and we did see some shells of those further upstream. But these invasive clams, I'm not entirely sure of the ecological consequences of these, but they are going to outcompete, if anything, our native species. And a lot of these shellfish that you might find, their larvae could easily end up in water that was in the ballast or just in an undrained boat. So in addition to hosing off your trailer, you also want to make sure your boat is free of water that may carry other critters.